Hello and welcome to PWN's Friday Ask the Expert interview. I'm Marion Gellatly. I'm PWN's Vice President. I'm an image and wardrobe coach and speaker, and my company is Powerful Presence. I'm your host each Friday at 12:30 right here on the Powerful Business Connections powered by PWN Facebook page. And today I am very pleased to welcome our guest expert, a relatively new member for PWN, and her name is Kenis Dunne. Now, Kenis is a local first-time author of the book. I'll hold it up here, The Good, the Bad, the Mother-in-Law. She has spent her career working with words, starting as a journalist, writing for community newspapers, and then moving into various forms of communication for trade associations and high-tech companies. Along the way, she and her husband, Rob, raised 2 daughters and 1 son. Her son and daughter live locally here on the Monterey Peninsula, and her other daughter lives up in Portland. She is a mother-in-law twice over and a grandmother of 3. Nothing better than getting to that point where you're a grandma.
Best job on the planet.
Best job on the planet. So I'm so happy that you're here today, and I just want to welcome you. Now I want to tell our viewers, those, I know a lot of people catch these videos on replay. So if you do that, go ahead and put in the hashtag replay so that we know that you've been here. But if you're watching live, please go ahead. If you have a question for Kenis, go ahead and put it in the comments, and I'll keep my eye open for anything that comes through. So let's get to the questions then, Kenis. One of the things I was curious about is, well, being a mother-in-law, twice over, you've had obviously some firsthand experiences, and is that what led you to actually write the book?
Well, yes, in a way. The concept of the book started with when I was a young daughter-in-law. So I had brand new mother-in-law. I was her first daughter-in-law, and we had all kinds of fun and games. And I should make a note that my mother-in-law, who is 102 years old, is still alive. So I still have a mother-in-law.
You sure do.
And, in that process of figuring out how to have that relationship, and, mother-in-law is just a distinct thing. It's not your own mother. It's, it's distinct to itself. I got the idea of, writing something about this, and then I just went on with my life. And then when I was working, and I was old enough that the people working for me were daughters-in-law, going through the same sort of getting engaged, meeting the guy, getting engaged, and listening to them talk about that relationship the exact same way I had when I was, in my 20s. So I decided I wanted to collect their stories and create a book out of it. And so to answer your question, when I became a mother-in-law, which is relatively recently, all those stories that those young women and also I interviewed mothers-in-law too, were telling me about the missteps and the oopses, and then the wonderful stories too. I really felt like I'd done myself a great gift, because I had a ton of information and like inner guidance that hopefully kept me from making some of those same mistakes.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And those of us that have had a wonderful mother-in-law, even though maybe it was challenging initially,
Sure.
We're very lucky, I think, anyway.
Exactly.
So what was your book writing process as you went through this?
Well, I would interview, again, over many years, but when I did these interviews, I wasn't looking for bad stories or good stories. I'm just kind of looking to see what their stories were. And so then I would, and almost to a person, they said, by the way, don't use my name.
Of course.
Of course, right? So I would take their stories, and I'm a writer, so it wasn't that hard. And I would immediately just write a story based on what they told me. So paraphrasing, keeping their story true, but changing some things that didn't seem to me relevant. And then I just collected them and held on to them. And then when the pandemic arrived, I had a lot of free time. I wasn't traveling as much. And I thought to myself, I really need to stop talking about this book and do something about it. So I, took all that free time, went back through all those interview notes, all those stories, collected more because there were gaps, and then just started to put it into, would-be manuscript. And then,
well, thank goodness for the pandemic.
Well,
right?
yeah, in a weird way, yes.
I
Yeah,
mean, I think so
exactly.
many good things have come out of the pandemic, really.
Hmm.
I mean, it's given
Hmm.
all of us time to
Yeah.
do things that we
Hmm.
wouldn't otherwise have had the chance to do.
Yeah,
So
so
good,
true.
because this is a really fun read.
Oh, thank you.
Um, so what is it like to get a book out there during a pandemic?
Well, first of all, super excited to get a book out at all. That was
Okay.
like on my bucket list. And if I hadn't done it, I wouldn't have surprised myself because it is a ton of work and you have to find, a publisher and, it's become serious business when you're creating a cover and all of that. But I think I don't have anything to compare to, first of all, but the hardest part, I believe, is that for an independent book author, really rely on local and kind of onesie twosies forums to promote the book. And the local bookstores have been great, by the way, but in general, most bookstores aren't doing their normal patterns. They're not having every Tuesday an author in. They just haven't been doing that. So that part's been kind of frustrating to me because I'm not really sure what to do other than, what I can do. And I think there's ways that would have been there for us authors if we didn't have the shutdowns and the like. But other than that, that's a really nice community of book owners and authors, and everyone's very, welcoming and excited for someone else to publish a book and that sort of thing.
Are
And I
you
would
doing,
say I've learned a ton about social media.
oh, okay. I was going to say, are you promoting on social
Yeah,
media or
yeah.
through podcasts or?
I'm not doing podcasts, but I've been doing, I do any interviews, if I can do that. And I have learned a lot about Instagram and stories and sharing and promoting and all the things I had no idea existed when I was just, posting a photo here and there of my children or grandchildren. But that's
Right.
been excellent because, it's fun to learn something new, even though it's challenging. It's pretty fun.
It is. I think that's what keeps us young, right?
Yeah,
Just continuing to learn new things, challenging ourselves.
exactly, exactly.
So you have so many stories,
Hmm.
and I think it's important to let people know that really it is a collection of small stories
Yeah, very
throughout,
small. Hmm.
all that have different sorts of themes. And
Yeah.
was there one particular story that you loved more than any other, or one that
Hmm.
made you laugh more than others?
Well, yes. The one that made me laugh more because it just was to me so ludicrous but true is the bride. She'd already been married by the time she told my story. That her mother-in-law, very controlling and had her way, wanted to insist that their poodle, the mother-in-law's poodle, be part of the what's it called when you walk down the aisle, the train or whatever it is.
Right.
And she was insistent. She said, I'll get a little outfit in the same colors, and I'll put a little wreath on her. And she's a very good daughter. And the daughter-in-law first thought she was kidding, and then realized she wasn't kidding. He's like, no, we're not having a poodle in the wedding. And she said it kind of became a bone of contention. But the mental picture of a poodle trotting down the aisle at a wedding just has stayed with me. I just thought it was very funny.
And so who won is the question. Did the daughter-in-law
Daughter-in-law,
win? Yeah,
or more
good.
the bride one, as should be
Right.
the case.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Don't you find that the conflicts that mothers and daughter-in-laws have is really all about control?
Uh-huh. It's all about control. And and that was a theme, that I learned wisely from, I believe, but that at first, if the premise is you've got a mother-in-law who, which most of us do as mothers, have had a considerable amount of control and influence over our, let's just say sons, because it's a lot about daughters-in-law.
Mhm.
We've got our boys, right? We've raised them and, we're their moms. And then what was interesting to watch these stories and these mothers-in-law who weren't quite understanding that their sons had met another woman who was becoming their partner, who rightfully so he's now partnering with, and just watching the control sort of diminish, and then some of them are not understanding that they really aren't in control, and then just watching like that power curve swing over to the daughters-in-law. At first you're just that girl, and then suddenly you're the grandchildren's mom. And it was interesting to watch, as a mother-in-law myself, put myself in the shoes of those mothers-in-law, like, ooh, you're blowing it. You are really blowing it, because she actually has all the control, or darn near all of it. That was a pretty constant theme.
Well, it sounds like you probably knew this before you ever wrote the book, but
Hmm.
it just kind of came forward even stronger as you write all your stories and see
Yeah.
that common
Yeah.
theme that went through. So that's another segue into what sorts of themes did you see go as you developed the stories?
Well, that was
Control
one.
being one of them.
That's one. Control, sort of it almost all is control, and sort of I called it the evil twins of forecasting doom and being sort of critical, and and the language that they described that you could see yourself saying, which is, well, like, I know better, or go ahead, but that's probably not going to work out. I mean, the same things we sometimes do as parents, but it doesn't fly well with the daughters-in-law. They have their own moms. On the flip side, because there were some really wonderful stories, the other sort of takeaways I came away with was that how important it is for us to, as mothers-in-law, don't pass judgment. It's just it's not anyone's place, but it's not your place. It's not welcome. Be respectful. Be respectful of their role, their home, their approaches to child rearing, all that stuff as grandmothers. And when you're in your child's home, which is, be helpful. So many stories of like mother-in-law coming in, almost like this one gal, I remember, she said, this isn't a B&B. This is, this is my home. Go into the drawer and pull out the silverware and set the table, So, I get this kind of dicey. You're in someone else, even as your child, you're in someone else's home, and you sometimes don't know exactly, but the predominant theme was just pitch in, be helpful, be part of the family, don't be a guest in our home. And then the other one, which was consistent, especially in those early years, is you have to embrace your child's partner. You can't put your child in the position of thinking, understand their mom doesn't like. I'm not really crazy about her, but if you think so, none of that. You have to embrace them because they're nearly your own child, over the years. So that was a really strong theme too.
Yes. And I think that is definitely hard for some people.
Yeah.
I feel very fortunate that I had a mother-in-law that just was delightful. I mean, she didn't live right near me. She lived in Minnesota, but the bottom line was is that she never interfered, and she was always encouraging and happy and supportive. And I think that's really
great.
That's really the trick. That's the road to success right there.
Yeah.
And so you just hope that you've raised your son, right, to pick somebody just like his mother.
Yeah. No, ironically, my son isn't married. I know. No, but that's true. Of course you do. No, but ironically, my son is not married. So I still have a little challenge ahead of me. I only have sons-in-laws right now, so I'm aware of that. But I'm ready.
Yeah. And do you think you're going to find a big difference between sons-in-laws and daughters-in-laws?
Well, I don't know. I'm told there's a big difference for my friends and anyone who said, like one gal said, just you wait. It's a lot more difficult with daughters-in-law than it is with sons-in-law. And my sons-in-law are wonderful. So I really don't, I don't expect any problems, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, you just, you can only pray, right?
Right.
It all works out, and you do your part to be a good mother-in-law. That's the way.
Exactly.
Well, any other pearls of wisdom that you would like to offer our viewers here?
Well, it's not really pearls of wisdom, but one of the most interesting, one of the more interesting themes that I sort of came upon was about Facebook. You probably, if you read the book, you probably read this. Just the things that especially a generation that didn't grow up with Facebook. I remember the one gal saying that they would tell me some of the things their mother-in-law would post on Facebook for their friends, not realizing that the daughter-in-law, the sons-in-law, like comments like, I met Joe's girl. She's great. I hope he, like in public place, don't say anything like that. Or of course, the other challenge being that you want to post pictures of our grandchildren, and the daughters and sons-in-law certainly don't necessarily want you to do that. There's a lot of discussion about that. I feel like I should post a picture of my adorable 6-month, whatever. And the daughter's like, no, that's me. That's my boundaries. And then a couple of stories of mothers-in-law inadvertently pre-announcing things like an engagement that they knew about, and so just that woman saying, for Lord's sake, it's a public forum, stop posting. So I thought, oh, good to know. I mean,
that's I hadn't even thought about that, but I guess getting permission or asking for permission first would be the wisest thing to do.
Sort of under that respect them.
For sure. Well, I think, I want to ask, where can
Sure.
people get the book?
Well, locally, all the local books, well, not all, but downtown Book and Sound in Salinas, Pilgrim's Corner, Pilgrim's Way in Carmel,
Yes.
the Bookworks in Pacific Grove, and the Corner Bookstore in, I don't know the quite right name, in the Crossroads.
Okay.
I'll have it. In addition to that, you can go on Amazon.com and go to my website. In fact, right now, between now and the end of May, in honor of Mothers-in-Law, if you go to my website to go to the publisher's site, it's deep discounted by using the redemption code MOM. So
Okay,
that's
so
the way
what,
to get
what
it.
I'd like you to do when we finish up this, I'd like you to come back to the Facebook page and in the comment section,
Awesome.
go ahead and
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
put where people
Yeah.
can get it to get this discount. And I
I'll
think
do
it's
that.
it would be kind of a fun little gift, wouldn't it? As long
It
as you
would
have a
be.
good relationship.
Yeah, if you ever, and then also really fun, though we kind of are out of the wedding season for the last year, really good gift for a brand new mother-in-law. Because it
Oh,
isn't, it's just cautionary tales and inspirational moments. But
that's right.
that's generally the point where you're becoming a mother-in-law, when your children partner up.
Well, and
get married.
the weddings I'm hearing about it. They're
I
all
know.
starting to pop back up
Yeah.
again now that
Yeah.
things are loosening up. So
Mhm.
great idea for a
Yeah.
gift, for a shower
Hope so.
or
Yeah,
whatever.
exactly.
So
Yeah.
wonderful. Well, thanks so much,
Oh,
Kenis,
you're
for
welcome. Thank you.
sharing your wisdom with us. Well, you say it's not wisdom. I think in some way it is wisdom because it teaches us all a bit of a
Yeah.
lesson that we
Yeah,
need
that's
to
true.
learn.
Well, thank you.
So in terms of how people connect with you and how they can get the book, you're going to go ahead and add
I will.
that right under
Yeah,
this video a little bit later.
absolutely.
So wonderful. So everyone, I just want to let you know that I'll be back next week with Rochelle Mordecai. And here we go, is her book. And
Love
her
it.
book is called What Dog Am I? And the PWN board has used this book and her training to really understand our personalities and how we can best understand why we do things or why we see things differently. And it's really been extremely helpful. So there's nothing like having a better understanding if you're going to work together with a team or just be curious
Sure.
about what you are. So anyway, that will be my interview next week back here at 12:30 on Friday. And if you are a PWN member and you would like to be a Friday guest expert, please go ahead and direct message me. I'd love to get you on our June schedule. And it is a member benefit because only members get to have an interview. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, and I hope you all enjoy this sunny weekend. Take care now. Bye-bye.